We are super excited to be here to talk with everybody about the report building feature on Motivity. We're really focused on building this feature to, again, increase the time everybody is spending with their learners versus on their reports. And we'll kind of jump into how and why and what everything is going to look like. But like I said, very briefly, Amanda and I will introduce ourselves since I'm already talking. My name's Catherine. I'm a BCBA and clinical sales consultant with Motivity, and we are so lucky to be joined by Amanda. Unfortunately, her Zoom's not letting her share her video as well. But Amanda, if you just want to quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, I am here. I'm Amanda Kelly. I am a customer success manager with Motivity. I've been with Motivity about a little over 2 years, actually. I'm also a BCBA and I've been a special ed teacher in the past as well.
Amanda was huge in the development of this feature that we're going to be going through today. And so, like I said, really excited to have her and her knowledge. She's a dedicated customer success consultant as well. So throughout the whole time each of us are talking today, we're going to monitor the Q&A, and chat will also leave time at the end for Q&A. But just really lucky to have somebody that was so involved in the development of this feature. So in terms of today's agenda, we are going to briefly introduce Motivity. I did see a bunch of familiar names. I wish it was familiar faces, but we can only see names today. A bunch of familiar names, which is great, but we will just briefly introduce Motivity in case it is new to anybody. We'll, of course, describe our report feature and then that impact we expect to have on both your business and clinical processes. We're going to showcase those report features, show some of the other templates we have within the Motivity Notes template library. We're going to walk through a specific case use example, which is going to be our reauthorization, just because we know that is the report that does tend to take the most amount of time. And then if we have time, we will describe the current research study we have. And then, as I said, leave time for a Q&A with Amanda and myself, our Motivity BCBA today. But again, feel free to use that chat or Q&A. We'll either leave it towards the end or just answer it throughout. So with that being said, first, let's talk about what Motivity is. Motivity is a clinical data collection platform for behavior analysis and developmental. Something I'm really proud about to work for Motivity is that we are funded by grants through the National Institute of Health. As you can see here, we've gotten about 11 million in research grants. That allows us to look at clinical outcomes and design features accordingly. Rather than replicate what currently exists, Motivity is about developing and designing features based on industry needs. And with that also comes making sure the features are improving clinical outcomes. In this example, you can see here, this was a clinical trial completed back in 2021, where we saw that Motivity's features, that was specifically our data collection feature for your frontline staff, increased intervention agility and accelerated child progress. When you can have data that's real time, that improves the BCBA or supervisor's ability to analyze that data, which of course is going to improve our clinical outcomes for those families and children that you serve and adults. That being said, as I just mentioned, everything in Motivity is real time. So we were designed to be extremely flexible and extremely reliable. We do guarantee 99.9% uptime. You could also see on this slide here that we had under an hour of downtime in all of 2022 and 2023. Not only are we designed to be extremely fast and reliable, but also comes with that clinical flexibility. So on Motivity, we like to say anything you can do on paper, you can do on Motivity. We really want clinicians to feel empowered that they're able to design programs based on their need, as well as capture and record data, what they need. With that, we want them to be able to access that data. And so everything's real time. You're never having to sync or refresh. It's all going to instantaneously save onto our server and be available for that analysis and that clinical decision making. Because of the efficiency of the system, we are able to scale with you as your organization grows, but also it's scalable overall in terms of growth on Motivity. Here we can see that we have over 400 subscribed organizations now, and that spans from our clinics to our pediatric centers to our schools. And we love to just throw in, of course, a graph. And being so many BCBAs on our team, also some data that I find really exciting. So 1.2 million session notes that have been generated, 2 million goals assigned, and 5.7 monthly clinical observations. And we're looking at about 11,000 registered users right now. So Motivity has been able to scale exponentially between 2021 and now looking into 2024, all while maintaining that speed, reliability, and efficiency. And of course, looking at the clinical outcomes and the features that we're creating so clinicians have what they need. When we talk about that, we're looking at programs, and then we're of course looking at that clinical document. And that's what we're going to focus on today, which is our report building feature and how we've designed it to improve clinical efficiency and provide you the resources that you need. I should also quickly mention, because Motivity is 100% clinical data collection, that allows us to dedicate all of our engineering efforts and all of our customer success time to clinical features and clinical build out. That is why we partner with other best-in-class integration or practice management platforms. We currently partner with four practice management partners. That's Aloha, ABA, Therapy PMS, Calmanac, and Lumery. At the end, we'll be leaving our contact information, so please feel free to reach out to us if you'd like some additional information on any of our integration platforms. All right, so now getting to the reports. As I mentioned at the very beginning, the example that we'll go through today is our reauthorization. However, our report builder feature was designed to cover the entire continuum of care. So we're looking at intake to discharge. All the clinicians on the call, also anybody that's been in a school that's working and requiring some of these documents, you understand that that comes with so many different forms that are created for the clients that we serve. From intake, that might be onboarding forms, privacy policies, medical release forms. Then we look at the individual session notes or daily notes that we're providing to families, parent training. Of course, we want that initial assessment, our reauthorization, and discharge. And so that is going to cover a lot of different documents within the life cycle of our clients and our learners. Motivity's report builder feature will cover each of those. Because we can accommodate and create documents that is going to cover the entire continuum of care, that allows you to store these documents in a central location, all within Motivity. A few benefits to that are, of course, collaboration. So if you are an organization that's maybe multidisciplinary, or you're a school that's multidisciplinary, and therefore you have other providers or other services that are being provided to this child, you can have all of those clinical documents that are covering both this continuum as well as some of these other services, again, built, captured, completed, and stored on Motivity. And then everybody's able to access those to see that different information to really help with collaboration and support that clinical team as a whole. Alternatively, if it's an organization where we have the BA, RBT, and caregivers who are needing that information, same thing. It's all going to be centrally stored on Motivity, built on Motivity, and completed on Motivity so that everybody has access to what they need. All of your learners' information is stored in a HIPAA compliant format on Motivity's server. I don't know if Amanda does this, but being a nerdier BCBA, I love when people will send us documents to build on Motivity. Amanda can probably do it in half the time, being somebody who is so key at developing this feature. But love just building different things on the platform and seeing what we need. So as you can see here, we have some of these more clinical documents, but as I mentioned, we'll create some that are maybe a caregiver communication log or daily summary of school, and just being able to accommodate each of the needs for the different organizations that we serve. Here you can see just an example of some of the templates we have currently within our notes library. So these are the more standard documents, as I mentioned, because they're the ones that are more commonly used, like a discharge summary report, initial, that monthly and quarterly can be really beneficial in a school setting. And then, of course, your treatment plan reauthorization. However, like we mentioned, the note builder itself can accommodate across a variety of documents. So that's going to include your more standardized reports, but again, something like a medical release form, accident and injury report, session notes, it's going to cover that entire continuum of care. This is some of the default templates that are provided right within Motivity to make them really accessible for the organizations that we work with. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we are going to focus our example today on that reauthorization because we know that that is what tends to take the most amount of time creating, writing, organizing for all the fun tasks that come with reauthorization. So Amanda's going to go through some data that we've been gathering based on treatment plan reauthorization writing time.
Yeah, so as we were curating this feature, we wanted to do some background information on what was out there in terms of how long do each of these components of a reauthorization take. And so we kind of found averages based on that assessment time, 6 to 10 hours. That might include direct and indirect assessment, parent meeting and goal review would be 1 to 2 hours. The actual writing of the report, which would be gathering information, formatting our graphs, and then just general writing and formatting of the report. That's 6 to 8 hours for all of that. So we got from all that an average between 8 to 20 hours, with the actual median being 16 hours. So we wanted just to see, since we're focusing on the actual writing portion of the report, how long does it typically take all of you to do that piece? So the gathering of information and graphs, editing our graphs, and then writing and formatting your report. I don't think I can launch the poll, Catherine. I think you have to do it.
Yep, sorry, I'll do it.
No worries.
All right, I just launched the poll. Okay, perfect. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We see some answers coming through. It's always interesting for me to see this.
Yes. Same.
And Amanda, can you see it, or am I just able to see it?
I can't see the answers.
Okay.
Until it's done. So maybe we give people a few more seconds and then.
Okay. Perfect.
Then share.
Lots of the 6 to 8, 8 to 10 hour time frame.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just wait a few more minutes. Awesome. Oh, we have a tie. Tie between the 6 to 8 and the 8 to 10. Oh, and we have, oh my goodness, there's a tie between 6 to 8, 8 to 10, and 10 plus.
Oof.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that pain.
Yep. And that essentially matches exactly with our next slide, which was yeah. Yep.
Oof. I know that 10 plus.
That's rough.
All right, here we go. Go to the next slide. Oops.
Yeah, so that's pretty consistent with the data that we collected. So we have a Facebook group that we run for all of our Motivity users. And we launched this poll and we got pretty much the same as you all just answered. So typically between 6 to 8 or 8 to 10 hours for the writing portion of a reassessment. That's an N of 35. We're going to continue taking data on that, but that we figured, and as based on that, it's pretty accurate representation of the general population of BCBAs, unfortunately. So, and as we all know, insurance only gives 8 hours typically for reassessment, 12 if you're lucky, depending on the payer. So from an organizational standpoint, that's between 4 to 6 hours of time that you're completely not billed for. So that's either time that you're paying behavior analysts to work extra, or it's time that your behavior analysts are not getting paid for. And we did some quick math, and that's between $7,200 to $12,000 per year, depending on the rate of the BCBA and the state and all that. So our goal with Motivity is to do what we can to reduce the time that folks are actually spending writing reports. Our goal is to reduce by 50% or 3 to 4 hours to help eliminate that non-billable time for report writing. So far, so we did a beta launch of this feature for our current customers. And again, a small N, we just had 7 people here, but so far the data is looking very promising. We're seeing that people in general are taking around 3 hours to do the report writing in Motivity. So we see here between 1 to 2 and up to 6, but most people, 57%, were 2 to 4 hours.
Really exciting to see these numbers. I was so excited when we got these back.
Yeah.
So without further ado, in a moment, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. As I mentioned at the very beginning, if you could do it on paper, you can do it on Motivity. So we're going to go ahead and show you an example of a reauthorization report. Amanda, would you just confirm that my new screen is shared?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we do hope there are some Harry Potter fans here today. As you can see, we're looking at Draco Malfoy's reauthorization. So to orient everybody, I'm currently in Motivity and I've pulled up a reauthorization plan that's been completed for Draco Malfoy. Before I jump into some of these differentiators and features that have been established, one that I want to highlight right from the beginning is the ability to actually doc the report you're working on. So as we just saw with those numbers, 6 to 8 hours, 8 to 10, 10 plus, you're likely not sitting down and completing your report within one time. So I hit that quickly, but if I hit that dock button, I'm able to still be in Motivity and move between. So if I needed to look at some recent session data or maybe a recent session note that's been completed, I'm able to dock my report over, still be on the platform itself, and then just open it back up again and be able to continue to work. Like I just mentioned, I think it's very rare that any of us are sitting down 8 to 10 hours at a time and writing a whole report. So being able to have that open and accessible, but still be on the platform so you can see what you need is extremely beneficial. Jumping into the report itself, we're seeing our logo right at the top here. And then we see some demographic information for Draco. You can see that I'm not clicking in here. This is all auto-imported information that's come directly from our learner's profile. So this is information that I'm not having to manually fill out or copy and paste because it's just accessible there for me. This entire background section can also auto import. So we have these little items that I know can be finicky to copy and paste over, but also this entire background section that which we often complete in our initial and then rarely maybe have to update it later. We can just auto import directly into my reauthorization report. If there was a change I needed to make, for example, I can easily go into my learner's profile, update it, and it will instantaneously update within the progress report I'm working with. So you're not stuck if, for example, this should be 12 years old now instead of 11, you can certainly still make those changes and it's going to auto import directly into your report. On Motivity, we are focusing on clinical efficiency based on that goal we just described. As I continue to scroll through here, you're seeing different sections, coordination of care, barriers to treatment. As I'm clicking into a text box, you'll notice the different formatting options. So if you needed to format things more specifically, whether that's funder or organizational specific, you're able to do that. I'm also able to type, and everything is, it's hard to type and talk at the same time. Everything is auto saving. So as I am typing, you can see that save button at the bottom. Everything on Motivity auto saves. What I mean by that is if my computer were to crash, if I were to accidentally X out of it, if I were to, my battery were to die, this is already saved on my report and I don't have to worry about going back and getting that information again. This is allowing you to work on your report on Motivity throughout the entire time you're needing to, rather than having to work on it in a separate document and then copy and paste because you don't have to worry about losing that information that you've recorded. As I mentioned previously, you see these different tables. You can also include footers, which will just help guide your staff on maybe information you would like them to include. And then we see drop downs here as well. As I'm scrolling through, there's also sections where you can include initial text. So maybe there's, again, information that you want to guide your staff to make sure that they include. You can either make that editable or you could just leave it where it's initial text read only. But again, it's helping guide your staff on the information that's either a requirement of your funder or just the organizational workflow process. For the exciting part, as we jump down into our goals and progress, we're seeing that graph that's auto-importing. And I'd like to just review the information you're seeing here. We are going to be able to organize by domain and subdomain, allowing you to organize your goals as you need. Here we have our long-term goal that's auto-importing in, nothing I'm having to copy and paste or add separately. I also have my short-term goal auto-importing in if I'm looking at my individual targets that I'm tracking in terms of those interfering behaviors. Additionally, our date of baseline and date of intervention have been auto-imported. You can control what dates are going to auto-import and if you'd want them. And then we see our beautiful graph here as well that we've auto-imported. In terms of analysis for our graph, you can see that I'm able to change how I'm grouping information. So if that's grouping by day, session, week, or month, I can even change if I want to look at the frequency or the rate. And then some additional analysis options. Maybe I want to include or exclude a trend line or split by staff. I'm able to make those adjustments right within the report to make the graph appear how my funders are requiring that information. As you can see as well, we have our drop downs to include our goal status, as well as a little text box if you needed to include some additional information. As I'm scrolling here, you'll see that information for each of our targets, beautifully organized with my target, my goal, my dates, and my graph. Very easy, not only in terms of the information we're pulling in for efficiency for our clinicians using this feature, but of course, I'm sure we've all heard feedback from funders of, well, I couldn't read this information, or it was difficult for me to find where this information was. With the way we have it organized on Motivity, it's not only accessible for yourself, but for those funders that are doing the audits. When we get down into our skills-based assessments, as I've been mentioning a few times, you do have the ability to include information that's pre-populated into the report. So for example, we have this explanation of the Vineland. That was the assessment that was completed for Draco. If it's an assessment that is regularly completed for your organization, or you have a funder that is continuously asking for an explanation of the Vineland, the VB map, and so on, you can include sections that will just have that information readily available based on the description you've provided. And again, that could be in an editable view or a read only, depending on if you would want your staff to make customizations to it. We also see our actual assessment results or summary embedded right within that section as well. And now we're in our skill acquisition section. I want to again bring your attention to organize by domain and subdomain. With this format for organization, we can then just directly tie our goals to medical necessity and diagnostic criteria, not only making it easy for yourself to organize your programs accordingly, but really accessible for funders to see that we are tying these goals directly to diagnostic criteria, and that is why they're medically necessary. Here we're seeing our long-term goal auto-populated. We can comment on that goal status with our drop-downs and our text boxes again, as you see here. You'll notice in this section, we're pulling in the data introduced as well as current performance. On Motivity, you have the ability to show or hide any of your graphs. Not that any of us are recommending to hide graphs from funders, of course, but if there was an instance in which you did want to show or hide a graph, you do have the ability to do that. So for example, if I want to open up this graph because I want to pull in this information, I can open that quickly, but maybe I just wanted to capture my current performance. Even within the reports themselves, when I hover over a data point, I can see when this was collected, who collected it, and when. So I can see here that this was on June 19th. Maybe I want to include my date here. So I can say 100% June 19th, 2024. If I wanted to, I'm also able to go ahead and hide that graph if I no longer wanted to see it. We have heard reports of funders saying that they don't want 50 target graphs, for example. What's great is if you do have a funder that says, I don't want to see all of these graphs, you also have the ability to include a cumulative graph. So really being able to include or exclude any of the information you need, really accessible right within the report itself. When I was in that show hide feature, I'm sure you saw all of those eyeballs that just help guide you to show you what's available versus what's not available. I also always like to note that none of that is going to print. You can see here that once I'm out of that editing view, those disappear. I'll pause for 2 moments just to see if we did have questions. I thought I saw, oh no, okay. I thought I saw a chat come through. As I continue to scroll on the bottom here, we're just seeing additional sections that are often required by different funders, like our proposed goals, of course, parent and caregiver summary, as well as proposed goals for them. And then often we see these generalization transition plan requirements. Using Motivity's templates, you can easily move where information is stored on the template itself. And so if your organization prefers to have medical necessity justification right at the top of your report, or maybe you have a funder who says, I want my hours right at the beginning because that's really accessible for them, you have the ability to simply move aspects of this template based on what your needs are. Amanda, before I jump into the signature here, like I said, Amanda was very instrumental in the development of this feature. So before I jump into the signature, anything that you want to highlight?
As far as the show hide goes, you mentioned that you can hide charts, but you can also hide entire domains, entire programs if needed.
Yes.
So with Motivity, just an example, sometimes our customers will create a program for like a communication log for just internal communication. So you can, if you have anything like that, or like ABC data or something that you might not want to show in your report, you can hide entire programs and domains.
Thank you so much. That is a fantastic point.
Of course.
If my treatment plan is completed, I'm reviewing it with my caregiver. You'll notice right at the top here, really accessible and easy for parents to see where they need to sign as well as what they're going to sign. Parents are able to sign either from your staff's account or from their own device and login, depending, do Lucius Malfoy, depending on the workflow of your organization or just what's maybe easiest for that caregiver. But you can see it's very obvious for caregivers to find where they need to sign. I'll go ahead and also sign this from a perspective of the staff that completed it or submitted it. And there you're able to see a full breakdown of how these features, that goal we talked about of reducing report writing time by 50%, how all of these different features are going to improve that clinical efficiency. Additionally, if your organization wanted to include an approval process, you can do that as well. So I'm going to briefly go through that. Here we can see another treatment plan reauthorization. And you'll see at the top of the screen here, I have the ability to approve or reject this report. So if I take on the perspective of maybe a QA within an organization, I can see that there's a treatment authorization that needs to be reviewed. I'm going to review this report from their perspective. And for the sake of the example, I'm going to tell my staff that I am going to reject this report. And I'm able to indicate why. So we'll say that please modify statement of participation. QA. Oops. Now, if I'm back to being that BCBA who completed this report, I can see that there is now a revision requested of me. So it's no longer awaiting approval. There's something that I actually need to go in and adjust. Right from the top of my report, I can see exactly what my QA asked me. They need me to modify my statement of participation. I'm simply going to go back into this report. Sorry if scrolling is making anybody dizzy. I'm going right back into my report and I can see easily, oops, I didn't select that the caregiver was able to participate and I incorrectly selected that the child could not participate. I'm going to go ahead and modify those sections. Now it looks good. I simply will re-sign this. We are able to see all of that revision history right up at the top of my report here, as well as in this history section. So if you needed to see a breakdown of the different versions of the report that were generated, which can be really beneficial for your QAs to see what is the feedback that we're having to provide frequently. Maybe there's some additional training that can be done within that organization. Alternatively, maybe from the perspective of that individual staff that's consistently getting some feedback, just to help shape their report writing ability to continuously improve it as they work on reports. You're also able to print any of these different versions as well. Finally, my QA can go and check that I did make that modification that was requested, and they can simply approve the report from here, which just allows for not only some of those features or those benefits that I just mentioned, but also ensures that your reports are being reviewed prior to maybe being submitted into your funders. While we are still on Motivity here, a feature that we are all really excited about and definitely will help with clinical efficiency is the ability to clone any of your reports. So here we can see a treatment authorization that's been completed. If now 6 months have gone by and I know that there's some tweaks I need to make, but maybe not too many, I can simply clone this report. I'll put in new dates. So maybe we're looking at January up until yesterday. and I need to clone my document, I can simply clone my report. And here you can see the report that had previously been completed is now cloned and available for me, helping you save time and just make the edits you need for each of those different 6-month authorizations that you are looking at. All right, I did see a few chat come through. I'm going to come back to our PowerPoint over here and see if we want to talk through any of them. Also,
Oh, sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Amanda.
I was going to say I was able to answer the questions, but I can just let everybody know what the answer was. Just
Oh, that'd be awesome.
yeah. So somebody asked if, in addition to the default templates, if we could upload custom templates, and the answer to that is you can't upload. However, any template can be created from scratch, either by our customers themselves or their dedicated CSC can help them build whatever templates they'd like. And then somebody else asked if the reports could be downloaded into PDFs. And I said, yes. As soon as they're signed, you'll see that a little download icon appears and they can be downloaded from there.
Thank you so much. That was one of the features I meant. So here we can see a completed report. And then as Amanda just described, you can easily download it right from here, and that will give you that PDF. Thank you, Amanda.
Of course.
Also, as Amanda mentioned, with that dedicated customer success consultant, all of Motivity's customer success consultants are BCBAs themselves. And so when you are working to either build a report or make edits to our existing templates, you're going to have somebody who is in tune with your clinical needs and clinical workflow to be able to understand why things are required by funders, in terms of probably dealing with some pushback with funders themselves.
Yep.
All right. I don't see any more questions coming through. Amanda, do you want to very quickly, while people are maybe still thinking, just talk about the ongoing research study that we have?
Yeah, so as we mentioned at the beginning, we're looking to track the report writing time. So new customers, current customers, we're looking to recruit folks who are interested in being part of this research. So we're just taking a very simple baseline just to see how long it's currently taking you to do your report writing. So it'd be a pre-survey that we sent to you. And then we're looking to track that over time to see, once you're kind of used to doing the reports in Motivity, you do a post-survey just to see how that's changed. And hopefully we reach that 50% decrease.
Also on the next slide here, we do have some contact information. I'm not going to end anything yet, just in case questions do pop up. But please feel free to reach out to Kara Lechleiter, she's our Director of Sales, or myself for a personalized demo to see this report feature in more depth. Kara, I also see that you've joined the call. Could you do me a huge favor and put the link to demos in the chat as well?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. We're really excited to be able to introduce the expansiveness of this feature today. We just focused on that reauthorization, but as we've talked about from the beginning, this report feature does cover the continuum of care. So if you would want to see more specific examples of an intake assessment, or maybe privacy policy, medical release forms, accident injury, and of course I could go on, we're happy to show you that in that personalized demo and be able to see specifically what your organization would need and how that translates on Motivity and therefore improves that clinical efficiency.
I always like to say that my favorite thing to do in a demo, and I think Catherine's as well, is set up specific examples for prospects so you can really see what Motivity would look like in your setting. So Catherine has done this numerous times, even during a demo, because it is so quick and easy to do. She'll take a current report and build it on Motivity just so you can see what it looks like in our system. And then, of course, we can do the same thing on the data collection side as well. Within our program builder, we really like to say that anything you can do on paper, you can do in Motivity. I have never seen anything out there that is quite as flexible or robust as our clinical tool set.
I mentioned earlier, Carrie, I said I don't think Amanda's as nerdy as us, but we will take documents and just translate it onto Motivity to see what it looks like.
True story, true story. Or create programs just because we want to see if we can automate the protocol.
Yeah.
And the answer is always yes, we figure out a way to do it.
Yes, yes. Well, I'll leave a little bit more time here to see if any other questions come through, although we do know it's nice sometimes to block off an hour and have a little bit of extra time. I know for me, it's around lunchtime, so depending on what time zone you're in, maybe just grab a coffee before your next meeting. We do really appreciate everybody joining today.
Ooh,
Oh, go ahead.
Catherine, there's a really cool question that came in. Does the study include only Motivity users? What about a control group? Actually, I think
Oh,
Emily joined the call as well. She's our chief clinical officer. So Emily, what do you feel about that, including some non-platform users?
I think that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, send us an email and we'll talk about that. Anyone who's interested.
Here, I'll put my email in response to that.
Perfect. And then there was another question. Can we create multiple templates for different funders? Catherine, do you want to show what it actually looks like, how quick and easy it is to clone a template and modify?
oh yeah. So if we, let me switch my share here. Go back into Motivity. Did that load?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So within each organization, as we mentioned at the beginning, you know what? Let me switch back to my PowerPoint really quickly. I want to make sure I share a screen that is not going to show. Kara, I don't know if you have the ability to share your screen. The only reason I'm hesitant right now is because I might end up showing customer information with the account I'm in.
Oh, yeah, sure. Am I able to share? Is it there?
Let me see if I can make you, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen briefly. Oh, yep. Okay, there you go. Perfect.
All right, excellent. So I actually have some reports pulled up as well, but I'm going to come over into my note template library. So what we did is our team has built out a number of templates for people to use. We are constantly adding to this. Is like, for example, I know that CASP is going to be releasing their payer templates soon. We have all of the ingredients in our system that we need to craft them all out. So as soon as those are available, we'll be able to add those to our library for our customers. But what you can do here, so let's say you're looking at our template, for example, and you're looking at our treatment plan, and it's pretty good, but you want to change the order, as Catherine mentioned. So you can actually just come in here and you could copy this. Copy it right here, and we could say, I'm going to do a little shout out to Amanda here. She's a Swiftie, Kara's version. And you could copy that, and we'll have this available right here. And then from here, we can go into view and edit this note. And this is where you are able to do all of your customization. So the left-hand side is where you're actually building your customizations, and then you have a real-time simulation on the right-hand side. So for example, let's take a look at client information. And maybe we're a school district and we want this to say student instead of client. We could just do this right away. You could see that right there. Maybe we want to move the report period up. You'll see that take effect immediately. This is where you can import pretty much anything that you need. We have an entire training dedicated to how to use this. It's actually quite easy to use and very, very fun. Again, I'm super dorky, so I find it really fun. But that is what it would look like to just clone something and play around with it so that you have a specific copy for each payer and make every payer or funding source happy.
Well, thank you everybody so much again for joining. We've put our contact information in the Q&A and chat, as well as on that slide. Hopefully you caught it. We'd love to talk more about different reports that you would want to see generated on Motivity. As Kara mentioned, we're happy to build them. Feel free to send it with PHI removed, and we're happy to send a screen recording or just various versions for you to be able to take a look and see that exactly translated on Motivity. We'd love to continue the conversation, so we hope to talk with each of you soon, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day and a great week.